Good evening. I would like to call the March 14th, 2016 Bellbrook City Council meeting to order. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Edwards?
Here.
Mr. Greenwood, absent. Mr. Martin?
Here.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Here.
Mrs. Seeger-Lawson?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schweller?
Here.
Mayor Baird?
Here. May I have a motion to excuse Mr. Greenwood?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Mr. Martin to excuse Mr. Greenwood, seconded by Mr. Edwards. Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger-Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. Formal approval of City Council regular meeting minutes of February 22nd, 2016. Does any member on council have any corrections or additions to the regular City Council meeting minutes?
None, Mayor.
None. Seeing none, the minutes are approved as written. Special guests and mayor's announcements this evening. I would first like to start with some of the volunteers, and we like to recognize some of those volunteers. And Louis, you're going to have to come out, so figure out how to do the camera because you're going to have to get up here. We have a number of of organizations that have been helping out through the years. Without a mic, no one will hear me. And we would like to recognize a couple of them tonight. And one of them is our diligent cameraman, Lou Schatzberg. And just a little bit, during the winter months of this year, Louis removed snow for an elderly neighbor a number of times. As you know, we had a fair amount of snow events, and Louis was there to help his neighbors every time. We do want to note that Louis removed snow for other neighbors as well. This is not the first time Louis has fulfilled a volunteer request for the city. Louis continually helps his neighbors in many ways, and we have a certificate of appreciation. And Louis has been helping out neighbors. We have a group that gets together. Occasionally we'll have an elderly person who cannot fix their home, and we'll go out and clean it up, do yard work. You probably know better than me on how many different things you've helped on. So we have a certificate of appreciation, whereas in 2015, Mr. Schatzberg responded to the goals of the City of Bellbrook Volunteer Bellbrook program by offering assistance to others in need. And whereas Mr. Schatzberg was instrumental in the success of Volunteer Bellbrook. And now therefore, Bellbrook City Council, the City Administration, and the citizens of Bellbrook extend its appreciation to Mr. Schatzberg for his selfless dedication to his fellow citizens. Louis, thank you very much. He also volunteers, and you're probably here for the Sugar Maple.
Yeah, I help on that as well.
And a number of other things. We would also like to recognize, they're not going to be here tonight, but Bellbrook Community Church. Bellbrook Community Church in the fall received a volunteer request for basic property maintenance from several elderly residents. Bellbrook Community Church stepped up to help fulfill these needs. The church had a number of members involved in the work. In addition to fulfilling these requests, the church has also hosted community forums presented by the Bellbrook Police Department. We would like to thank the Bellbrook Community Church for volunteering their time and their facility to help the Bellbrook community. And we've had a number of meetings there. What else have we done there, Mark? I know a number of things.
The police meetings and stuff like that at the community church, yeah. Town hall.
So we would like to recognize them also. It's very important in a small town that we can have a group of people who can get together and help out the other residents. So thank you both very much. Next, we have a gentleman here for an Eagle Scout project presentation, and it has to do with our bicentennial. And Mr. Sparks will, I think, come up here, and it's Jonathan Jaquish. Did I get it right? Am I close? I usually mess that up. So if you guys would like to come up and give us a little background on the Eagle Scout project for our bicentennial this year.
First, I've been coming by about every other month and giving you an update on how the festivities are going for this year's celebration. Again, starting at Sugar Maple, ending with the Lions Club, with a few other events spread throughout. Community picnic. We now have a concert and ice cream social planned for July, and then all of a sudden you're going to see the community decorated. It's going to come in many forms. The first form is street banners. other things throughout the community just before Sugar Maple kicks off to be able to pronounce our 200-year celebration. One of the things I want to introduce tonight is that an idea about an entry sign at Patricus Park came forward. Thought I could convert that easily into an Eagle Scout project. I found a prospective Eagle Scout. His name might be familiar. I had his brother in front of here almost a year and a half ago as we put that northern community entry sign up. And it was Jonathan's brother Jared who put that together for the community. And so he's stepped up now to give you an introduction to the sign that we're proposing for Patricus Park, which would hopefully be constructed. It was timely for tonight's meeting because I think he's ready to go. So turn it over to Jonathan.
Okay, so I will be talking about the sign dimensions. So the sign dimensions, the width will be about 25 feet, and the height will be about 4 feet. And then the 2016, it will be 2016 logo, and then, 1816, the logo, oh yeah, and then 2016. So the numbers you see on there, they will be 3 feet. And then the width, of course, varies with each number. So the materials will be 2x8 wood, 2x4s, and then 4x8 plywood. And then we will be mounting it into the ground with 4x4s and connecting those 4x4s to the back of the sign. All the numbers will be mounted onto a 2x8x10. And then we will, of course, seal it, and the color is planning to be white. And then the logo in the middle, the estimate for that is, I think, about $400 to $500. And the estimate for the materials is planned to be under $300. And then for the building of the sign, I'm planning for the first week of April, and for putting it up probably the second week. So.
Council, do we have any questions for Jonathan?
Jonathan, I like it. It looks sharp. It's going to look good from roadway, and it's a good entry to the downtown region.
So the idea is to keep it there during this whole time and
Oh,
take
yes,
it down?
no, sorry.
during?
We will plan to take it down probably the first frost date, I think. Because I think we're planning to plant flowers beneath it, I think. And so, of course, when the flowers die, we will want to take the sign down also.
Okay.
With it.
So would the bed then be permanent there in terms of the flowers that you're creating?
No, the bed will not
Okay.
be
Okay.
permitted.
The logo, would we want to use the new logo?
This is the
This is the
bicentennial logo.
bicentennial
Oh, it is the
logo.
bicentennial logo.
You
Okay,
can't
it kind of
see
looked
that.
like the.
Yeah.
It has the same, it looks like that a little
Same
bit. It's-
size, but this is the bicentennial.
This is the
Yeah.
bicentennial.
Got it.
And actually, part of this request is for the city to purchase that logo. The cost I have is $300 for that. So the city purchased that as part of this project, and then when
Be
the
here.
rest of it comes down, we'll get to keep that sign. We'll display it either in the lobby or the community room or something like that.
What would that sign be mounted on? How?
It's a metal sign.
It's, so the center here would be a metal sign?
That's metal, yes.
Gotcha, thank you.
I believe it's the, if I'm not mistaken, it's the same material that the entry sign things are made out of.
On the wheels.
On the wheels.
Right. It's the same thing.
Okay, great.
Any other questions on council? Jonathan, very nice job, and good luck with that. And so when do you think you'll have it up?
The second week of April.
Second week of April. Okay, that'll be before the,
Okay.
that's a tight time frame. So,
Yeah.
Sorry to say, now the date's been made public, Jonathan, you got a
yeah, we gotta
contract.
put them all on.
So with that, so the $300 sign,
Right.
I'm assuming that's fine. We have money set aside for the bicentennial project, things like that. The other thing that we'd ask council to do, and I don't think it directly applies, but we'd like to waive the sign ordinance, the sign code for this. We've reviewed it. We don't think it applies, but if we waive the sign code to put this sign in place from April 1st through, end of October. That just eliminates any question that they have the ability to put this sign up and anything like that. So that's the other action that would be nice to have council take so that we can put this in place and have no questions about its ability to be there.
Any motion for that? Is that?
Who wants to make,
Do
I
you
can
need a
make
motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I move that we waive the sign ordinance for the bicentennial entry sign.
From what day to what day?
I'd just say April 1st. through
April 1st.
April through-
The last
April
days of
through
October.
End of October, yeah.
October.
April 1st to
3rd.
November 1st?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be fine.
And pay for the sign?
May I have, excuse me?
We don't.
Yeah, I don't know, you
we
necessarily
don't-
need a
all right.
motion
this-
for that,
yeah.
yeah.
Any other discussion? May I have a second?
Second?
Roll call.
Okay, a motion by Mrs. Middlestetter to waive the sign ordinance for the bicentennial sign effective April 1st through November 1st, seconded by Mrs. Seeger Lawson. Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. Mr. Sparks?
I'll vote
I'm
for it too.
sorry, Mr. Martin.
Oh, we skipped him. Oh, well, Freudian.
You still had a majority.
The committee that we're working will fund the scout. We've already approved the funding to allow him to the construction of the materials that he needed. So you're just essentially buying just the center sign that will be displayed then later. So the committee's already got him covered for his material costs. So,
Great.
at a point, we want to talk about an introduction and probably a display of what's going on at Sugar Maple Festival. Want to go ahead and refer to the Sugar Maple folks to introduce that? Is that what you intended to
Well,
do?
yeah, I mean, so
Okay, sure.
they're sort of here for a couple other things, but do you have anything else?
No, that was it.
That's, okay.
And we'll just do this under mayor's announcements and move forward with a couple more Sugar Maple
So,
discussions.
and Tasha Shoup and Steve Teeber are here representing the Sugar Maple Festival. The reason that they're here is for the first time this year at the Sugar Maple Festival, they're going to serve alcohol. They can give you some more of the specifics, but what ultimately happens, and I have a diagram here to sort of show you, they're going to be selling craft beer on Friday and Saturday nights. If I can get it up here. Hold on. Okay, this is sort of a diagram. So if you're looking at this, here at the bottom is East Franklin Street. This is Main Street. This is where all the food vendors normally are. This is Walnut Street. Up here would be Bellbrook Park. So the proposal, and again, they can speak to more specifics, is to have the beer served over here in the lot by Brookside Garage. But as somebody who purchases beer, you'd be able to basically go within this boundary here, you would be able to have your beer. So you'd be able to go to the different food vendors. It's hard to tell on this little diagram, but in front of where the salt shed is, there's that little parking lot. There's a tent there usually that has tables and seats so that if you get food, you can go over there and sit. So that would be included in this also. So the reason this has sort of come to us is because as the property owner of the public street, we need to be signed on the temporary liquor permit application because we own the property. So that came to us, and we knew that there was going to be alcohol served, but I at least in my mind, I didn't have in my mind that it was going to be on the entire bit of North Main Street here. So I wanted to make sure that council was fully aware of that. And if there was any questions that they had, that's why Mrs. Shoup and Mr. Teeber are here. If you have questions, and they may want to come up and say some things anyways, but that's what the issue is that I wanted to make sure council was aware of.
Okay, great. Will there be live entertainment during that period? I understand. So where will that be going on?
You're gonna sort of probably, no one's gonna hear you unless you speak into the microphone because of the TV.
The stage is going to be right beside of Brookside Garage, if not on their parking lot. And the alcohol will be served on their parking lot as well.
So,
And there will be live-
okay, so I was thinking, so the music will not be in Bellbrook Park?
No.
Because the first thing I thought is, well, if somebody's there to have a craft beer and listen to music, they can't
Yeah.
do that very easily. So the stage is actually in the parking lot
Yes,
of
and the
Brookside
park
Garage
will
there?
be closed down at that time. There won't
Gotcha.
be any activities going on in the park and no reason for any alcohol to even be in the park.
Perfect.
To kind of simplify what the intention is with this, this is my, I've done about 30 events where we've worked with closing down streets and doing festivals and whatnot. In fact, my 18th event I just started today downtown. But the low-hanging fruit on this is a simple craft beer event during the hours of Sugar Maple Festival, which really haven't existed before, which is between 5 and 9 p.m. Usually Sugar Maple shuts down very close to the 5 to 6 o'clock time frame on both Friday and Saturday night. Friday night has always been a little lackluster as far as attendance goes. I was approached by Stuart and Christy Phillips and, of course, Tasha and the rest of the Bellbrook committee based on my knowledge on being able to do events like this. And in short, getting a particular alcohol permit to serve craft beer, the idea is to do craft beer. It's something that's a little bit more upscale. It's going to cost a little bit more money. This isn't a big drinking fest. This is more of a revenue generator and trying to draw a few more people into the community. There's a secondary benefit, which is the people that come here and patronize the other businesses, as well as, of course, the vendors that come to the Sugar Maple Festival. The long but short of it is it could create a more successful revenue generator for the festival entirely. And the point of the festival is obviously celebrating the Bellbrook community and creating the scholarships and the scholarship grants that Sugar Maple does. So this is going to add a secondary source of income, increase some revenue. And obviously our intention is to keep things safe. Like I said, my experience and my background is, I work with the Dayton Police Department and a host of other security systems, Dayton Fire Department and whatnot, and what it takes to run a good, safe festival environment that it also involves serving alcohol. This is a little bit more of an upscale event. Like I said, this is more of a craft beer thing. I'd be shocked if it turned into a major event, but the point is trying to drive a little bit more revenue and bring a few more people to our Sugar Maple Festival and draw out the hours a little bit more.
Sure.
So, and it's going to help out all the vendors as well quite a bit. So, you guys have any questions?
Is there any way to estimate how many people might attend? I mean, this is the first year we're doing it.
Yeah, no, there's no way of estimating. The original intention of this was, let's keep this as a Bellbrook thing and really not put the marketing out there with it. It's hard to gauge. I can tell you statistically how many beers a normal person at a festival will drink based on the festivals that I've done. But it's 1.4, by the way. But yeah, there's really no way of gauging that right now.
How's the parking going to work? Are there enough parking spots downtown to support that sort of event between 6 and 9?
Well, I think in general we have.
Because there's no shuttle bus after 6, is that correct?
Right.
I think it'll be fine. We don't know how many people will be there just yet.
Yeah.
This will be our, trying it out this year, and I guess we'll just have to see as we go.
There's 0 people now.
Yeah, this will be an experimental year.
Right.
So.
But parking, that is, realizing there isn't a shuttle bus, and not that the crowd's gonna be as big as it, on a nice day, right, weather-wise.
Yeah.
Saturday obviously is a huge day. But, have you had a chance to talk with, say, Dots Market or anything about the possibility of people parking there and then walking over?
I haven't, but that's a great idea,
Yeah.
and I can do that.
I'm just thinking where people are gonna think about parking, that's probably the first spot they're gonna think about, other than, the first dozen people that get to the library, and then it's full.
And Sugar Creek Elementary.
Yeah, that's the other thing,
Yeah.
is the schools. I don't know if
Elementary.
if
It's
they
better
have,
than
I know
Dots.
for the
Dots has
Lions Festival, there's a lot of
Right.
parking down there, and they use that, but it might be worthwhile to contact them and see if they have a problem. That's a public
Right.
parking lot. I don't know that they're gonna have an issue, but,
And
yeah.
that'll be the dog night.
On Friday,
Friday
it'll be-
night.
right.
You
And
also
so
don't want to
people will be
interfere with
parking there and walking.
the other businesses like the Dairy Shed.
Sure.
Those nights are big nights for them, and they have
Yeah.
parking spots that.
Right.
And that's a great second, these are the type of businesses, if you were to ask me right now, I know Dots is going to benefit greatly from this. Dairy Shed will benefit, the gas station will benefit, greatly. And we hope any other little businesses in that area, Subway, whoever is open on a Friday or Saturday night at that time. Macintosh, I'm sure, will benefit greatly from it, so.
Is there any other security going on other than our police department? Is there?
The Sugar Maple Committee, we have all hands on deck during this. We're all gonna have our red staff coats on. We know the perimeter. We plan on, everyone taking part in this each night. We should have plenty of people around to watch and, make sure no one leaves the perimeter with the beer, and
And there's a host of guidelines, I believe,
Yeah.
that Mark sent this way, and and these are typical guidelines with any other festival. How many beers can somebody purchase at one time, and what time you start and stop the event. Like I said, we have the live music, and usually you stop the sales before that. But it's a gauging year to kind of see where this is going to go. The idea is never to take it past what it is really, which is a craft beer event. Like I said, I've been involved in a lot of them, and from the Downtown Dayton First Four Festival to Taste of the Oregon, of course the other one's Haunt Fest, St. Patrick's Day. But the first two are really more family oriented. These are type of events where there's children activities, there's family activities, and you can also have a beer or a glass of wine and so on. So, and if you find I sent a note to Chief Doherty, Mark. I know you saw that.
Yes.
There is a. I'm not going to say that there's a alleviation on the interest in alcohol sales. I mean, the city of Fairborn has just recently passed a motion where you can actually do an alcohol event in their city parks. The reason why they do so is because of the same reason why we would be looking into doing this, is to draw people to the community. Of course, you guys know about the open container law that was passed by the Ohio Senate last year, which has created districts in different cities. And the reason why that is these large organizations, these large functioning groups, they want to come in and they want to be able to draw a lot of attention. Now, we're not trying to do that, but that's the there's a little less stress about it right now. But then we have the insurance policy that the festival has also covers all liability, which I believe has been cross-checked.
Yes.
As well. So trying to make sure all the checks and balances are in place.
Sure. So our police aren't really the security. I mean, they're going to have a presence, but the committee is going to be responsible for the checking of IDs, the checking of wristbands, keeping people within that contained area. Obviously, if our police see somebody doing something different, they're going to stop it. But the committee is not relying on us to do their policing for them. We are just going to be there because this is a unique, it's a first-time thing. We're also going to be there to help, and if there is an issue, then obviously they can come to us. But they're really responsible for providing the security and keeping people within that area.
Will we have extra officers on duty?
Yes, we will.
And I assume Chief Doherty is okay with the
Yes,
concept?
yeah, I've talked with him. They've talked with Chief Doherty on multiple occasions. He's fine with this and been very supportive of this. We will have a couple officers. In the past, we've had who's on duty, and that meant they could get called to somewhere else if something else happened. We'll have 2 officers that will be here during this time, dedicated solely to this at this time. So.
Okay. Might also point out real quick, Tasha, there's an accreditation course called TIPS, which is a alcohol serving, and they have 4 different categories, and one is of course festivals and whatnot. And the plan is, as chairperson of Sugar Maple, if this is to go forward, get certified in it, and of course take the knowledge from that and pass it down to the people that are working, which is very similar to most restaurants and bars that do things. Something you probably heard the term "serve safe," which of course is hit recently with the local shutdown of one of the restaurants downtown. But these are things that are very important for people to learn the safety measures with not only alcohol sales but food preparation as well.
Any other questions on council? Or do we need to?
No, there's no real action. It's just to make everyone aware, and if they have questions, this was the opportunity to get them answered. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Sounds great.
We will
Thank you.
hopefully have a great festival coming up in a little over a month.
Hopefully good weather.
Hopefully good weather, April 22nd.
He's gonna steal that back.
Only one.
That is all we have for mayor's announcements this evening. We have one public hearing, ordinance number 2016-2. Mr. Martin?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 2016-2, an ordinance amending Part 4 Traffic Code of the Bellbrook Municipal Code. Whereas the City of Bellbrook periodically reviews its policies and procedures, and whereas the city has determined that sections of the traffic code are duplicated from sections of the Ohio Revised Code, and whereas the city will use the Ohio Revised Code section when appropriate, and whereas the city desires to eliminate the sections of the traffic code that are duplicates of the Ohio Revised Code. Now therefore, the City of Bellbrook hereby ordains, Section 1, that the following amendments to Chapter 402, definitions of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be approved with deletions shown by brackets and strike-throughs and additions shown by italics and underline. And that's 402.01 all the way through 402.53. And all of this is online if you care to read through it in detail. Section 3, that the following sections of Chapter 404, enforcement impounding of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. And that's 404.01 through 404.99. Section 4, the following section of Chapter 408, penalties of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in its entirety, which is 408.03, suspension of driver's license. Section 5, that the following section of Chapter 412, obstruction and special uses of public ways of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in its entirety. 412.05, freeway use prohibited by pedestrians, bicycles, and animals, and 412.99, penalty. Section 6, that the following sections of Chapter 414, traffic control devices of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. 414.01 through 414.99. Section 7, the following sections of Chapter 416, pedestrians of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. 416.01 through 416.99. Section 8, that the following sections of Chapter 432, operation generally of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. 432.01 through 432.99. Section 9, the following sections of Chapter 434, OVI, reckless operation, speed of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. 434.02 through 434.99. Section 10, that the following sections of Chapter 436, licensing accidents of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. 436.01 through 436.99. Section 11, the following amendments to Chapter 438, safety and equipment of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be approved with deletions shown by brackets and strike-throughs and additions shown by italics and underline. And that involves Section 438.21. Section 12, that the following sections of 438, safety and equipment of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. 438.01 through 438.99. Section 13, that the following amendments to Chapter 440, commercial and heavy vehicles of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be approved with deletions shown by brackets and strike-throughs and additions shown by italics and underline. And that'll involve various sections of Section 440, Chapter 440, excuse me. And then we get to Section 14, the following sections of Chapter 440, commercial and heavy vehicles of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. 440.02 through 440.99. Section 15, that the following sections of Chapter 442, drivers of commercial vehicles of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. 442.01 through 442.99. Section 16, that the following sections of Chapter 444, offenses relating to theft and fraud of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. 444.02, police may remove ignition key. Section 17, that the following sections of Chapter 452, parking generally of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. 452.01 through 452.99. Section 18, that the following sections of Chapter 474, bicycles, mopeds, and motorcycles generally of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. 474.01 through 474.99. Section 19, that the following sections of Chapter 476, snowmobiles, off-highway motorcycles, and all-purpose vehicles of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, be deleted in their entirety. 476.01 through 476.99, and Section 20, that this ordinance shall take effect May 1st, 2016.
Yes. I'm gonna read that again, I didn't get it.
So this ordinance, as we've talked about previously, our current traffic code is about 207 pages long. What this will do by doing these amendments is we'll make it about 20 pages. That doesn't mean that there's less violations. What it means is a lot of these sections that were in our municipal code were exact duplicates of what the Ohio Revised Code states. We don't generally cite under the municipal code because it costs us more money to do that. So if there's an instance where there's somebody that has to go to jail, things like that, there's a cost to us if we cite them under the municipal code. If we cite them under the state code, that cost does not come back to the city. It's borne by Greene County. So by eliminating these, there's a couple reasons to do it. One is we can avert some costs there. Two, anytime the Ohio Revised Code changes, we had to pay to have our code changed and kept up. And a lot of this stuff was about OVIs and things like that we're not really going to change those ourselves. It's going to be changed by the state legislature. So what this does is really cleans up our code, and we'll rely on the Ohio Revised Code to cite those things. And then what's left in here will just be the few ordinances that we've passed here locally that we, for whatever reason, we've put in place and we want to keep in place.
Questions? I know we've talked about this. This is a public hearing, and we will start with City Council. Anything on City Council?
No, Mayor.
None, Mayor.
Seeing none, we will go out to the audience if anyone has any questions.
I'm not reading it again.
You have to come up, say your name, your address, and you have 5 minutes.
I won't need that long. Well, my name is Bill Dowling. I live on Sugar Maple Place. And the question I have about this is, let's say someone wants to research Bellbrook laws and find out about it. By the way, I've tried to find some of this stuff on the webpage, and I'm probably not very good at it, but I wasn't able to do that very well. But let's say someone wants to. Are there indications in here that it's been turned over to state and then and somewhere along the line where we could find a way to find that information at the state level?
We can do that. There's in the existing code before it's taken out. There's an Ohio Revised Code citation. So if there's a section in here that talks about speeding, there's a section of Ohio Revised Code that it goes to that's out there. We can also, what we'll do on our website once this, assuming this gets repealed, we'll make sure there's a link on there that says, if there's other traffic code things, here's a link to the Ohio Revised Code that's maintained by the state of Ohio, and here's where you can get that information.
Okay, that seems like it'd be reasonable. Thank you.
Any other questions? This is a public hearing. Seeing none, I move this public hearing is closed. May I have a motion to approve ordinance number 2016-2?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2016-2.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Motion by Mr. Martin to adopt ordinance number 2016-12, an ordinance amending Part 4 Traffic Code of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, seconded by Mr. Edwards. Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. Introduction of ordinances. We have one introduction this evening, ordinance number 2016-3. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 2016-3, an ordinance amending certain sections of the City of Bellbrook zoning code to include regulations for transient rentals. Whereas the City of Bellbrook has identified a need to regulate transient rentals in the city based on immediate and direct threat to public safety, and whereas the City of Bellbrook has determined the need to regulate transient rentals to protect property values and the character of the city's residential neighborhoods, and whereas the city staff recommended amendments to the Bellbrook zoning code relating to transient rental regulations, and whereas the Bellbrook Planning Board conducted a public hearing on those amendments to the Bellbrook zoning on January 13th, 2016, and whereas the Bellbrook Planning Board unanimously proposed the amendments and recommended adoption by the City Council, and whereas all amendments to the zoning code must be approved by ordinance. Now therefore, the City of Bellbrook hereby ordains, Section 1, that the following amendments to the Bellbrook zoning code be approved with deletions shown by brackets and strike-throughs, and additions shown by italics and underline. Article 3, Construction of language and definition, section 3.02 definitions. Transient occupancy means the right to use, occupy, or possess the use, occupancy, or possession of the following: dwelling unit, dwelling one family, dwelling two family, or dwelling multiple family, or a portion of any of the aforementioned for a period of 25 consecutive calendar days or less. Transient rental means the renting, letting, subletting, leasing, or subleasing of a dwelling unit, a dwelling, a one-family dwelling, a two-family or dwelling, a multiple family, or portion of any therefore transient occupancy. Article 5, R1 AA, R1A, R1B, one-family residential districts. 5.01, intent. These districts are the most restrictive of the residential districts. The purpose and intent is to provide for an environment of predominantly low-density single-unit dwellings plus certain other facilities which serve the residents living in the district, and to regulate transient occupancy within the city to protect and preserve the permanency of residential neighborhoods, protect property values, and to ensure the comfort and safety of the residents. Section 5.09, transient rental regulations. No dwelling unit or dwelling one family or portion of any thereof in the R1 AA, R1A, or R1B district shall be used as a transient rental. Article 2, R2 two-family residential district. 6.01, intent. The purpose and intent of this district recognizes the existence of older residential areas of the municipality where larger houses have been or can be converted from single-family to two-family residence in order to extend the economic life of these structures and allow the owners to justify the expenditures for repairs and modernization. This district also allows construction of new two-family residences where slightly greater densities are permitted. This article also regulates transient occupancy within this district and protects and preserves the permanency of residential neighborhoods, protects property values, and ensures the comfort and safety of all residents. Section 6.09, transient rental regulations. No dwelling unit or dwelling two-family or a portion of any thereof in the R2 district shall be used as transient rental. Article 7, R3 multifamily residential district. 7.01, intent. The purpose and intent of this district is to allow construction of apartment buildings and condominiums and to regulate transient occupancy within this district to protect, preserve the permanency of the residential neighborhoods, protect property values, and ensure comfort and safety of the residents. Section 7.09, transient rental regulations. No dwelling or unit or dwelling multifamily or a portion of any thereof in the R3 district shall be used as a transient rental. Article 17, plan development. 17.01, purposes. 6, to regulate transient occupancy within the residential districts to protect and preserve the permanency of the residential neighborhoods, protect property values, and to ensure the comfort and safety of the residents. 17.05, PD1, plan residential development. 14, transient rental regulations. No dwelling unit or dwelling one family, dwelling two family, or dwelling multifamily, or a portion thereof in the PD1 district shall be used as a transient rental. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period provided by law.
Yes, this ordinance was drafted in response to a complaint that we received about a property in a residential district that was being rented out, in this case on Airbnb. So it was rented on a short-term basis. People were coming in and out of that residential, obviously adjacent to other single-family residents. What this does is, in the zoning code, it creates two definitions. What transient occupancy is, it defines that. And it says that that is if you're renting it for a period of less than 25 days. And then it, based on that, it defines a transient rental. And basically what this does is does not allow that to be in either one family, two family, or multifamily or planned developments within the community. That would be the intent of this, is to restrict those type of short-term rentals within those districts. This is to be set for a public hearing to be held at the March 28th meeting. But that's the basis of what this is intended to cover. Planning Board did have their public hearing on this in January. They did approve this, which time it got forwarded to council for them to have their public hearing and decide if they want to move forward with this change in the zoning code.
Any questions before we introduce it? May I have a motion to introduce ordinance number 2016-3.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number 2016-3.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Mr. Edwards to introduce ordinance number 2016-3, an ordinance amending certain sections of the City of Bellbrook zoning code to include regulations for transient rentals, seconded by Mr. Schweller. Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger Lawson?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. We have one resolution this evening, Resolution 2016-L. Mrs. Seeger Lawson.
Resolution number 2016-L, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with National Gunite for the Marcia Drive Culvert Rehabilitation Project. Whereas the city of Bellbrook included the rehabilitation of Marcia Drive Culvert in 2016 annual budget. And whereas the National Gunite, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, can rehabilitate the existing corrugated metal pipe with a concrete lining to meet the needs of the city of Bellbrook. Now therefore, the city of Bellbrook hereby resolves, Section 1, that the city manager be authorized to enter into a contract with National Gunite for the rehabilitation of the Marcia Drive culvert for a price of $38,804. Section 2, that the city manager is hereby authorized to do all things necessary to execute the contract with National Gunite. Section 3, that this resolution shall take effect and be enforced forthwith.
Yes, this is a project, as was mentioned, that was included in the budget. This culvert runs under Marcia Drive between Ridgetop and Beechwood. Most people wouldn't even know it existed there unless you live in that area. It's an old corrugated metal pipe, probably been there for 30, whenever the original development went in is when it was put in. It's effectively rusted out at the bottom of it. What National Gunite will come and do is they'll come in and they'll put like a 2-inch concrete lining around the entire inside, and that will basically keep it from collapsing in the future, basically put it back so the water flows through there. We would have just replaced this culvert ourselves, but there's a sanitary sewer line underneath it, there's a water line on top of it. There's no way we could have gotten in there to do it without having to move those, and that would have been extremely expensive. So this process really goes through and takes care of that, puts effectively a new pipe in there without having to take the old one out.
At a lot less cost.
At a lot less cost.
A lot less cost.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about this too. Do we have any questions on council? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2016-L?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2016-L.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Motion by Mrs. Seeger Lawson to adopt Resolution 2016-L, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with National Gunite for the Marcia Drive Culvert Rehabilitation Project, seconded by Mrs. Middlestetter. Mrs. Seeger Lawson?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. Moving on, city manager's report.
Yes, really, only one item. We already talked about the Sugar Maple Festival. That was one item I was going to talk about. Street banners were also mentioned. We're in the process of getting those approved through DPNL and Miami Valley Lighting. We have to have them approve the poles that they need to go on. So we're in the process of going through that. We hope to have those banners up sometime in early April before the Sugar Maple Festival. We do own the 4 poles at the center of town here because they're for our traffic signals, so we're going to go ahead and mount the banners on there. So we'll get some of them up, but we have to wait for DPNL to do the inspection and approval before we can put them on the other poles. So you'll see some of the banners, and the other ones will pop up as we get approval. That's really all I have.
Any questions for our city manager?
Mark, concerning those inspections, I saw in your note to us in the pre-read, there was a fee associated with that inspection?
There is. It's a $95 per pole fee that is
I'm
there.
pretty
And
evil eye here.
yeah. And then there's an annual rental also. I think it's $3.50, at least for now,
Yes.
per pole per year.
But-
Space rental on the pole?
Yes.
Yeah, to make sure that engineering-wise, the pole can hold it.
So that's what the inspection is, to make
This is
sure that.
nothing new in the world.
And I'm going to assume that most of this is intended because the Time Warner cables and the AT&Ts, they all want to attach to those poles too, and that's what, you know, we're just another vendor to DP&L, and that's why it has to be approved to make sure that the pole can withstand. And really, we're putting effectively a sail on the pole. I mean, we're putting a 10 square foot sail on the pole, so it's going to have an impact. So yes, there is a fee. That is where it sits right now. We have access to DP&L system to submit them for inspection. I need to identify which poles, because at $100 per pole, we're not going to have them all inspected. We're going to try to pick the ones that are most prominent, and as you come into the city from different directions, I need to identify those. And some of them are DP&L poles, and some of them are Miami Valley Lighting, which is they do the street lighting for the city. Some of them are their poles, so there's different processes for each of those. So, but yes, there is a fee, a one-time inspection fee associated with each one of those.
Sounds like a racket, but I'll leave it at that.
Any other questions for our city manager? Seeing none, we'll move to committee report. Service,
Oh, no report tonight.
safety, no safety. Finance and audit.
Mayor, nothing to report this evening.
Community affairs, we do have something with
We do
community
have-
affairs.
Yes, I am very happy to announce that we have recommended appointment of 2 new board members, James Day and Jacqueline Greenwood, both to serve on the Village Review Board. And we're particularly pleased to have Jacqueline Greenwood because that seat was required to be a resident of the Old Village area. And so now we have a full complement.
Which
as
has
soon
been
as
very
we-
difficult to fill.
It has been, yes. So we are,
Sounds like both very qualified.
Yes.
We do need a motion. Do I have a
well, that-
motion?
That's the motion to the
Okay,
committee.
may I have a second?
I'll second.
It was, or no, it was John.
It was
Nope.
Nick.
Oh, it was Nick.
Nick.
It was Nick.
Okay. Roll call.
Motion by Mrs. Middlestetter to appoint James Day and Jacqueline Greenwood to serve on the Village Review Board, seconded by Mr. Edwards. Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. Is there any old business this
I
evening?
have one more,
Oh,
sorry.
one more?
We have one more board position remaining, is on the museum board. And it, again, needs to be a resident of the city of Bellbrook or Sugar Creek Township. It's apparently a deed restriction, so we can't get out of it. So if you love history and want to participate in the activities of the museum and the history of the area, contact the city office.
All right. Thank you very much. Is there anything else?
Nope.
That's it. Old business, does council have any old business this evening? New business. A motion to authorize bidding for can't talk tonight, Plantation Trail Culvert Replacement Project. Mark?
Yes, this is a project that we have funding for, again, in the budget. We have grant funding. The total project cost is around $300,000. The engineer has done the design specifications for that, and we're ready to go out to bid. We just need council's authorization to go out to bid. We hope to get those bids back in probably in the June timeframe. The grant funding becomes available on July 1st, so we can award a contract. We can't execute a contract until after July 1st. So the hope is to have bids in place, have everything set, so that once July 1st comes, we get the paperwork from the state of Ohio, we can award that grant so that this project can be done before the end of the year. We can get it in before winter.
Yeah, that'll be a big project.
Mark, how much is the grant for?
It's for 84% of the total project. So it's the actual grant is $299,000. The project cost is probably about $320,000. 356 is the total project cost. 299 is the grant portion of that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for our city manager on that? If not, may I have a motion to authorize bidding for the Plantation Trail Culvert Replacement Project?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
And a roll call.
Motion by Mr. Martin to authorize bidding for the Plantation Trail Culvert Replacement Project, seconded by Mrs. Seeger Lawson. Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. Moving on, open discussion. Anything for open discussion?
Yeah, I just had a question. I'm assuming that our salt barn is still pretty much full.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
If I recall, do we have to accept additional salt here in April? Is that?
Potentially, yes. We are working through the contract with that. There's about 100 tons, maybe 150 tons left on the contract that we have with the vendor. We're sort of waiting until the true end of the season to contact them to see if they're going to require us to purchase that remaining salt or not. We can put probably 100 tons more in the barn right now. It would be probably as packed as it's ever been, which is a good problem to have, I realize. But so once the season truly comes to an end, we'll take whatever delivers we need to take and then see what's left.
What's the expectation for the cost of salt for next winter? Is it going to come down because we've had a mild winter?
One would think, but if you
So
could predict that.
So from a
yeah.
budget standpoint, we're ahead because we've got
Yes,
lunch left.
yeah, we will definitely go into the next year with a full salt barn. We won't have to, this past year, we had to fill it up over the summer because we were down just a couple hundred tons, but we were down a little bit. We will not, assuming we don't have something significant between now and the end of April.
Now that I've brought it up.
Yeah, start to say,
I'm
thanks,
sure
Nick. Now we
we'll-
got an
Yeah,
Easter
now we're gonna
blue.
get
Sorry.
some- Probably sugar maple.
Yeah.
Be
But yeah,
careful.
we should be in good position from a budget standpoint, and then once we get through this, we'll decide, what quantity we want to anticipate for next year.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Martin?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you. Well, I'm sorry, I did want to just say thank you again to our volunteers. It's really, to me, it's a great statement of our community when you see people that are out and willing to help and volunteer and help out folks that need a hand, be it elderly or whatever the case may be.
And I think I didn't mention, but Don Buchek is our city person who coordinates that, and I think we also need to recognize him as well. So I think I might have forgot that, so he wasn't here this evening, but.
No, he does a good job of, if we get requests, he will track down, that we have several organizations or individuals that are willing to help. The Lions Club has always been very good about participating in that. The churches are, but if there's a need that's been expressed to us, he does a good job of tracking down somebody that is able and willing to help with that.
Great.
Eli?
I'd just add my thanks to the volunteers. I know that's what makes a small town especially nice to live in.
Yep.
I just wanted to encourage people to come to the public hearing on March 28th for this transient rental. I don't know, for or against. I think we'd like to hear from the community as to how they feel about that issue.
Yes.
Mike?
Mayor, I'd just like to compliment city manager and city staff on the grant funding for the Plantation Trail culvert. Bellbrook does not have an income tax. As such, we're very limited on our revenues. So anytime we can get grant funding for a project of this magnitude in the neighborhood of $290,000, I think that's a great thing for us, so good job.
Thank you.
The only thing I have this evening is tomorrow's March 15th. And I would encourage everyone to go out to vote. And it's important that everyone does exercise that right. So I think, what time they open?
6:30.
6:30.
6:30 to 7 p.m.
6:30 to 7:30. So I'd encourage everyone to go out and vote. It's going to be an interesting election, and that's all I will say on that. So this is open discussion now. If someone would like to come up, you please say your name, address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is William Dowling. I live at 1839 Sugar Maple Place. I'm a dentist in Xenia, or in Bellbrook. And my office is up on Lakeman. And the reason I'm here this evening, also with my neighbors, is we live where our community, our street, is scheduled to be connected to a street which is being put in by a new development that runs all the way over to Upper Bellbrook. And we are against it. We don't feel that has anything to offer us. The continuation of Willowbrook Drive, I think it is, which is out of Highview Terrace. And I don't know the name of the new development, but it's
The landings.
Landings?
The landings.
The
Yeah.
landings.
Now, I understand there's going to be something in the neighborhood of 170 new homes there. And that will be a direct communication from Upper Bellbrook Road all the way over to Sugar Creek, Little Sugar Creek. And we are concerned that it will adversely affect the peace the health, the safety, and the welfare of our citizens, of the citizens in that area. So we know that we live outside the boundaries of being notified when there's a hearing on this, should there be a hearing. But we would like to be included, request number 1, in all of us and anyone else out there. We could get you their name and addresses too. But we'd like to be included in all of those discussions relative to that, relative to hoping to get it stopped. And the request number 2 would be that we could enlist the city council to help us find an alternative that could be in a form of a gate. To us, it could be in the form of a cul-de-sac. There might be other things that you, much more experienced in this than we are, could suggest to us. However, we feel very strongly that if you put that kind of traffic potential down the street, 2 straightaways, that will have speeding and troubles for the kids who play up and down on the streets and sidewalks as it is right now. So those are our 2 requests. We also understand that the plan to connect this is part of a 25-year plan. Now, I don't know that that's a correct determination or name for this plan. It might be a comprehensive plan, or it might be something like that. But we've been told, and I don't know how accurate it is that we've been told, but it's a 25-year-old plan. And we think that if that's the case, well, certainly things have changed in 25 years, and it ought to be worth a review of it to find a solution that would be much more suitable to us. And we think to everyone else, for the safety of the kids and the families. I think other people might have something else to say, but my purpose is to just introduce this concept, and hopefully we can get both of those requests done. Be notified, because we all live outside I think there's 300 feet or something like that.
Well, maybe I can answer some of these questions. So first off, the landings is in Sugar Creek Township. So council has had no actions on the landings. That's in Sugar Creek Township. Their zoning process, their board of trustees have done all the public hearings for that. So we've not done anything related to that. As far as the Highview Terrace, what we're waiting on is a revised preliminary plan from the developer. We've been working with the developer for years on this revised preliminary plan. We've been working closely with him, and ever since the landing has been, I guess, re-proposed, it was under development back in 2007, 2008. That developer failed, and now it's been obviously purchased by somebody else, and they are actively developing that. We have been working with Mr. Clemens on this revised preliminary plan and his engineer, and when he approached us about the revisions to the preliminary plan, one of the things that he wanted to do was abandon River Birch Court, which, if you live there, that's the stub street that in the middle of the way that goes up there. He wanted to abandon that. In the original preliminary plan, that was intended to be, as Willow goes through, that was the way to come through.
Yes.
One of our issues is public safety. If you eliminate River Birch Court and you don't have a way to connect to the landings, you effectively have a 2,000-foot cul-de-sac that a bus can't get down, a fire engine can't get down, a medic can't get down, a trash truck can't get down without having to back up to come through. So those are some of our concerns. We've talked with Mr. Clemens on this extensively. He's known for a long time that as the landings, that this was proposed to go through. He's shown us plans with it going through. I understand now that he's communicated with others in the community that maybe that he wasn't aware of that or something like that, but our intent has always been for that to go through. However, that being said, there's a process that this will go through. There's a public hearing process. First, if he submits the revised preliminary plan, which we don't have a submission yet, it'll go to the planning board. The planning board will hold a public hearing. Everyone will be invited to that, everyone within that community, and I'll make sure that everyone within Highview Terrace is invited to that, even if they're technically outside of the 300 feet. There's not that many homes there, so it's not that difficult to do. We'll make sure they're invited to the planning board public hearing. If the planning board will have to take action on that, whatever action they take will come to council. Council will then also have a public hearing on that revised preliminary plan also. So I appreciate you coming and expressing your concerns, but there will be ample time, assuming that we get this revised preliminary plan, to also have your input after this too.
Thank you very much for that information, Mark. Well, first, who has jurisdiction over that then? Sugar Creek Township or you?
The connection, and Mr. Schweller knows this because he lives on the next street over where there's a connection that's going through. It's sort of, there's not a one jurisdiction necessarily, but it was planned in the development process that would be a through street for public safety primarily is the reason that it's done. So that traffic from either development, particularly public safety traffic, could go through without having to back down, or once you get a fire engine in there, there's no turning a fire engine around in a small cul-de-sac or something like that.
We did ask, my wife did ask Mr. Clemens about that, and he said that the cul-de-sac that he has planned is big. I think this might be what you're talking about. This might be his revised.
It is probably. This is, we've gotten several versions of it over time. We have not had the official submission. But so we don't know. I mean, I can't answer that question because we don't have the final plan from Mr. Clemens in terms of what is he proposing.
So if it is large enough to turn a fire truck around, then you'll have no problem with this.
That will be something that we'll take into consideration, yes. Again, we have a gate at another location, and it causes us problems.
Tell me about those problems, because I used to live up on Sable Ridge.
In Sable Ridge,
and I know
there.
Exactly where it is. I lived adjacent to it almost.
First, the functionality of the gate. So in times of the need, so the need is that if a tree goes down and you can't access Sable Ridge from Little Sugar Creek, and we need to get a medic into Sable Ridge, there's only one way in and out. So the intent was to come from the back way from Kensington to get into there. Well, if the power's down, the gate doesn't work. The gate has proven over time to mechanically not be the most functioning gate. So it just has created us problems in terms of access to and from that property. Where if it was a through street, it would make things a whole lot easier for public safety traffic to come to and from.
Probably isn't the right time to call it to your attention though, but across the street at the Vineyard, they have many cul-de-sacs up there, and there's only one way in and one way out, and it's a perfect place for them to get out on 725 Franklin. They could have just come right over that culvert and come right out to solve the same problem you're talking about.
And we talked about that. The grade there, it does not permit that because that was a consideration that we took into. And coming out into Franklin there with the grade and the sight lines and that was impossible to do. But yes, you're right. We had the same discussion when the Vineyards went in because you have that. And if you, one of the compromises that was handled there at the Vineyards was there's a cement pad that allows us to back a salt truck to be able to turn around to come back out again. So it's not unsolvable, but our preference, at least from a staff perspective, is to have it as a through street because it provides a lot more access for those type of needs.
Well, we think that there'd be a problem with it for sure, and so that's why we're here really strongly requesting that we can enlist your aid in getting it solved in a manner.
And this, I'm sorry, the public hearing may
Yeah,
give a more appropriate time and place to do that rather than trying to solve this at this moment. That's the intent of those, so.
We just want to kind of jump the gun because we're afraid we might not be able to.
Well, I think it's important to participate in the process of the planning board because we can't tell them what to do. So the process is they go in, they listen. It's a public hearing, so they're gonna because some of us up here Donna was on the planning board, Louis on the planning board, who's sitting back here right now. So is to go through the process. And they will have the public hearings and listen to all those requests. And then let's say worst case scenario, they still go ahead with what you don't want to see. Then you get option 2, and that's us. And so there's not just one approval process, there's 2. And the hope is that, and we've had, when they did do, what's across the street, Vineyards?
Vineyards, yes.
Vineyards. So there were multiple public hearings on that. Regarding lot size, number of lots, and working with Ryan Holmes, making a compromise, and Ryan eventually got to the point with those residents to have an agreement. And that's sort of what the planning board and the city council are here to do, and the planning board did that then, correct?
Yes.
And they worked through all those issues. And then typically when it gets to us, unless you still have an issue, because you're still going to have that opportunity to voice your concerns, and then all of us, who you get to vote for, get to listen.
And can you override what the planning board said as soon
Yes.
as they say something?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Well, thank
we're
you
the
for staying
final,
late
so,
No
well,
problem.
and you can.
Thank you.
And we'll let all of you talk tonight, but there's nothing we're gonna be able to do until the planning board makes their decision. And then at that point, then we'll have this all over again and
And if the developer hasn't submitted the final plans, we can evaluate it anyway. The
yeah,
planning
it's a lot
board
of
can
it,
evaluate
yeah.
anyway.
Correct.
I mean, I talked to Rick the other day too, so I know his concerns, so, and I'm sure, I don't know, Mike, you probably
Rick
talked to
told me
Rick.
as well, I spoke
So,
with him.
so I know Mike and I.
And I'm on the other end of that plan too. I'm off of Ridgeway, I'm off of Big Tree Road Ridgeway.
Yes.
And Inverness is gonna come in there too, and it's gonna loop through. We've got some concerns about it, but they've made a slight modification, how it's gonna connect in with the new landings, and also that street has been there as a stub street to be continued for a long time, and the residents that are adjacent to it have been very much aware of it, and they knew at some point in time they're gonna lose the field atmosphere right next to their house. But
But, so, no, I just need to say your name and address.
Yeah, I'm James Angler. I live across the street from Bill, 1842 Sugar Maple Place. I wanted to address the problem of the emergency access briefly, because I think a simple solution to that would be a breakaway gate. I talked to Rick about that as well, and the residents in the community, along with Rick, would be fine financing that as an option. And I'm one of the trauma anesthesiologists down at the Valley. We had a kid today that came in, 12 years old, got blasted by a car. And anytime you have a straightaway longer than a quarter mile in a residential environment, that risk is going to go up astronomically. You get 200 houses, with 2 to 3 cars each house, you're looking at a thousands of % increase. And I think this is a very easy, preventable problem that will happen. Some kid's going to get hit on that street. Everybody on that street has kids. And we're pretty heated about that situation. We bought that because we like the small town. We like living in Highview. But we also bought it because of the serenity of it and the safety we thought our kids would have there. So we'll be at those meetings, and there's facts that are backing all this up. I can bring medical facts down that show the trauma risks to this if this would help anything. But we're pretty adamant about doing what we can to help prevent it.
And I think they're all valid questions, and that's what the process is for, to listen to you guys at the planning board and see what alternatives can make not just you
Is the-
guys, Rick, and everyone else.
Is the main concern safety access?
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think
I'm
that's,
not gonna-
that's the biggest thing, I mean, because especially with the abandoning of River Birch Court, you know, if you put a cul-de-sac there, that really, it's safety in other large vehicles. I mean, I know you don't have a lot, but even a trash truck. A trash truck can't, in a standard cul-de-sac, a trash truck, if you put one car in there, if somebody decides to park in the street, they can't turn around.
So a
And-
large cul-de-sac somewhere in there, a roundabout maybe even, that could help
Potentially,
that.
yeah, I mean, and we
Some
have
trucks,
radiuses.
those things.
We have radiuses for fire engines and things like that, but that's, you know, access into there, and then the ability to, anytime you have a single way in and out, then, I guess that's the problem with the cul-de-sac. Even if you could turn it around, you have one way in and one way out. So if a tree comes down
Right.
across the entrance there,
And the breakaway gate would solve that as well.
right, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
potential way. That would give you an access from the backside, but if you only have a single point of access, and, you know, you mentioned the vineyards, I mean, we sort of have that problem. You can potentially get there from the backside. There's no direct road access, but that unique piece of land didn't give, and there was no place to connect that to. And we talked a lot about connecting it to Franklin, but the topography didn't allow that to happen.
Okay,
I think they're all very legitimate concerns, and I'd be having the same concerns if I lived there, so.
okay, well, we'll see at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And when will, we don't know in the next planning board meeting, will.
Until they submit the plan. We'll schedule
Yeah.
it as soon as they submit the plan, but until they submit the plan, we can't.
Yeah.
It's that's our problem here, is we can't respond to something that we don't have in front of us.
Yeah.
So.
But I think they're all very legitimate concerns, and by all means, if there's someone else that wants to get up, please feel free to. So we're not trying to push you away, it's just a process.
Good evening, my name is Brad Leonard and I'm at 1765 Sugar Maple Place. So we live right on the corner there. For those of you that haven't yet met us, my wife Heidi's in the back. After 40 years in Dallas, Texas, we moved to Bellbrook. I just wanted everybody to understand that we looked long and hard before we searched for the home site that we found. We love where we're at, and I think it's going to be encouraging to work with you folks to see how we can make that a nice, safe place for us. One of the places I left, we were very concerned about the home values and what that meant as far as the taxing district and the revenues that could produce. I'd like to keep what we have. I'd like to grow it in combination with you folks and to build Bellbrook. And can't say enough about how happy we are to be here.
Great.
And look forward to all the future meetings that we're going to have and the planning, and hopefully we can come to some resolution. So I appreciate that.
And you get to come back to us
Appreciate
even
your
if,
time.
if you don't. And believe me, we will listen. So,
Absolutely.
thank you, and welcome, and thank you very much. Is there anyone else? You're more than welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm Beverly Hyman, 1775 Sugar Maple Place. And when you were talking about concern about the turnaround, I can understand that to some extent. And I know you're discussing vineyards, but what about Creekview Glen? I mean, they have real problems.
That's
with
in
space.
Sugar Creek Township, so that's not
Oh, so
our,
you don't
that's
care.
not our, so that would not, yeah, would not, but that's not something that ever came before
Well, we
this
didn't
council,
get to
our
see
planning
it.
board, so
But
that would.
I guess what we were, thinking is, we're not the only ones that this has happened. But the thing that, well, actually, my high school sons brought this to my attention. It's not just our street, but you know how, and this is Sugar Creek Township, but Possum Run, how it goes up toward Walmart and
Mhm.
Five Seasons and all that stuff out there. If this is connected, it's basically going to become a connector street. You may as well say from Walmart to the high school. So it's not just a few little houses, it's all those people from that whole area, Kensington, just basically everyone over in that area connecting and funneling through to the high school. So not only is it, becomes dangerous for people on our street, but every single street within the new development. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy in my mind.
And I think all those things need to be looked at. And the even probably worse part is that'll probably be continued to be developed, I'm guessing, in the township. So at 190, I thought it was more than that personally.
Yeah, I think there's closer to 300
I think it's
total.
closer to 300. So that is only going to increase going that way.
Right. But, like I said, it's not just our street. I mean, obviously our street is at risk, but, everyone, just all those people in that development saying, hey, I think I'll go to Walmart today or whatever and head, they're not going to go up to
Yeah,
725. It's really going to become a,
Well, I know I cut through Possum Run all the time, so.
Well,
I work
at
at
least they
Bigger
have
and Cloud
that.
Road, so if I'm coming,
yeah.
so.
And think about the
Mhm.
timer and the police sitting there, and then that costs more, hours for the police to have to sit there. It just doesn't make sense in so many different levels. So.
Certainly look at.
And we'd be happy, like I said, we will eventually get to potentially hear about it again.
Hi, my name's Kevin Carter, live at 1829 Sugar Maple Place. I was in the Army for 8 years, and like everyone else, I searched for a long time for a good place. My wife's from Cleveland, so I won the battle, and I'm local here. I grew up in Fairborn, so Bellbrook appealed to us in many ways, from the school district, the beautiful community, and the safety of where we live. So I know I have 5 minutes. I had a 6-minute speech, so I'll keep it short. I just want to document that I'm here, that I care, and I appreciate your time and interest in what we have to say. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Doug Pond, I live at 1867 Sugar Maple Place. I wanted to share a couple things as well about this. As everybody else here, I searched high and low for a place to land for my family. I have 3 kids, ranging from 6 to 14. We all have children out there. I'm mostly concerned, I've seen this before in other developments. I am a builder here in Bellbrook. My model is in Highview Terrace. I picked that spot specifically for the growth and development of this rest of the development. I invested $1 million in my house there, along with everybody else in this community. We have a lot of money. And, there's 35 more lots going in on that street that's gonna wrap up and go into a cul-de-sac. And I specifically asked a question about this when I moved in, and I was told that it was not gonna be a connector. So that kinda bothers me a little bit about my potential business, and not just the safety for my kids, but the business and keeping our community what it's worth. Because I look across the street, I've watched Bellbrook for years, and I see, people pouring lots of money in, then all of a sudden Ryan Holmes comes in, and we have Inverness going in, and now everything's connecting to our, and I'm not just saying it's a higher level of a community, which, it is, but we're gonna be putting $250,000 houses, and my major concern about it is the high school and all the traffic coming from the high school. I remember being a kid, I took the shortest way possible. So I'm worried about the high schoolers getting out of school, cutting through our development, and running down the street at 75 miles an hour to get to Little Sugar Creek to get to Possum Run. As she was saying earlier, that's a connector, and you do the points of that, and that's gonna be a major traffic road through there. So I'm concerned about multi-levels. One is the business aspect, other is our community, and keeping, when people come into my house on models, I have it open every Sunday, they ask me, I have this in a 3x2 foot printout on my table, and they specifically ask me, what's gonna happen over here? When are these lots coming in? So now, I have to tell them, it's gonna connect to, I don't even know the name of the place, what's it called, does anybody know?
The Landings.
The Landings, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. And that's gonna be a big factor on my, my sales. So, I just wanna make sure we're all informed what's going on. Right, so that's I know that was kind of a beating a dead horse right now, but I know that you guys are required to send us each a letter, correct?
We will make sure that
It
we
doesn't
do.
matter.
Yeah,
We'll
will-
send them anyway.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I don't know what the
Okay.
code is and the feed on that.
I think it's when you make a change, it's like within 500 feet, we all have to be notified of that.
And it is, and we do. It's just a
Okay.
question of whether all those properties are technically with, but we will make sure that anyone in that development
Okay.
gets a letter.
All
That's
right,
not
great.
an
Okay,
issue.
thank you very much, appreciate your time, guys.
I'm sure you'll
And
talk.
Mark, we don't know Sugar Creek's process, right? We don't know if they've developed the streeting, the street,
Yeah, as part of the plan of the Landings, it's intended, just like it is to Big Tree Ridgeway, it's intended to connect there. That's how they
Because
developed
they
that.
probably pulled the plan when they developed it and off of the,
Yes.
but
Yeah, ours has been stubbed like that forever, I mean.
Yeah, yours has
but
been
it's
that way
possible these
forever.
people could go to the Sugar Creek Township meetings as well, right?
That plan has
no,
already
that's
been
done.
approved, and
Already
it's,
done.
yeah, I mean,
it's
there may
already,
be
yeah.
future sections.
The sections
But
they could.
the preliminary plan for that is already complete and already been approved.
So
by
it'd
them.
go through the township planning
Yeah, they're
and then
development
Green County
phase.
Planning Board because it's in the township.
Right, that's
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Hi,
Nathan.
I'm Mark Elphus. I live at 1782 Sugar Maple Place. I know this isn't the hearing, but I moved here from Carmel, Indiana about 20 months ago. Bought a house up on the hill. The people that live in that neighborhood spent a lot of money on those homes, as you know. And what Inverness is building isn't in the same category. But the safety aspect, I just want to put this in your mind for when we do have a hearing, the safety aspect, that is a runway right now. It's about a half-mile long, and it's unsafe as it is. I got 2 kids, 11 and 12-year-old. I've been out on the road, put my hand up running in front of cars. I got dogs. Everybody on that street has kids and dogs, and I'll tell you, from a safety standpoint, it's gonna be much less safe. You're much better off putting in a cul-de-sac or a breakaway gate than turning that into a high-speed runway, because it's worse than Possum Run. And I can just imagine the traffic of people cutting through there to go to Walmart. So just remember that when you talk about safety, it's safety in both directions. And that's a safety issue every single day on that street right now. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's sort of sloping down too, isn't it? So it's like a little bit of a.
Beverly brought that up
Yeah.
with my kids out there.
Yeah.
Cars come flying over that hill, kids are on that street. We're lucky no one's gotten hit yet. There needs to be some speed bumps or something put on the street as it is, and the last thing we need is more traffic on that street.
Yeah, just that, we've been down the speed bump route with Possum Run, and that's, I mean, I don't mean this, but the people speeding, I know, other than the construction workers, are probably all in this room. And that's the thing, is, there's not that many residents, there's no place to go there. So I think a lot of this is communication amongst the neighbors to say, look, if you're in a hurry, just wait till you get out to someplace you can do it. So that's, at this point, Possum Run, we went through a lot of public hearings on that. We spent a lot of time. Speed bumps, you don't want speed bumps, because all that does is increase noise, and all it does is somebody slows down and then speeds up, and slows down and speeds up. So it may have an impact right there, but you don't want to live in front of a speed bump. We exhausted all those ideas when we came up with the speed board. So just, and if it's the construction workers, then I think you can talk to the developers and say, look, you know, we've got an issue and, you know, you need to tell your workers to control their speed, so.
The speed bump is more of a need because of the hill. Possum Run probably doesn't make sense, but with the hill, I know it's a nuisance. But my whole point is, from a safety standpoint, we're much better off not connecting those two neighborhoods and putting a lot more traffic through a straightaway run. That's my only point.
And I see that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds like it ain't that a straightaway run.
No more, sorry, you guys.
That's okay. Yes.
Okay, Doug Pun, 1867 Sugar Maple Place. All right, I've been in a lot of communities throughout Springboro, Springfield, down in Mason, and I would like to know how hard would it be, if everybody in the room would agree to this, to make it our own community. I know that in Sterling Cove, we used to be able to put their own gate up, and we would be in charge of our own snow removal and keep it privatized to our community. How hard would that be to get passed? And how do we do that?
I don't know.
We usually end up doing the reverse.
Yeah,
way.
I don't know that we've ever had a request, because Sterling Cove, I know, is an example over in
They took it
Washington
out,
Township,
yeah.
that the township
usually
ended
go
up
the
taking
other
it
way.
back. So that's usually the case, because
Because they
the,
didn't want to take care of their own snow.
Yeah.
they didn't want to take or the road maintenance, and
Yeah.
so they, you know, they have to bring the roads up to standards.
Yeah.
Obviously, these roads have been constructed to our standards already.
That's
Are they already dedicated? I mean,
For the first portion, they are
First
dedicated,
portion is
once the
dedicated,
final
but
course of
once the
asphalt.
bonds are,
Yeah,
okay.
it's done.
So, I don't know. I don't know what it would
All
take.
the other private streets we've had have asked to be
But
basically dedicated back to the city.
Right,
Yeah,
we've
every
never
time we
had,
go
we've
through
never
it.
had one
The
go
reason
that
why
way.
I'm asking, because I know it is possible, and most people do it because of funding, but if all of our community decided to do that together, and somebody would be in charge of all the,
Well, I'm guessing you're looking at an attorney.
No. But, so I'm
Or a wife.
asking, if that's our next
Yeah,
step, can that be a thing for
I
us to
can't
move
say
forward
because
to?
I'm not sure. I'm guessing, depending upon the number of lots available. Well, I don't want to say because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that
I
would
don't
be
know.
something I guess we'd have to talk about. I mean, I think even with that, the access would still be a concern. Obviously, you would control the streets, and then you could put the
We
speed
would
bumps
just-
in if you wanted to,
we
you
would
could.
have two gates, in and out, and then a breakaway gate for the emergency vehicles, or some sort of a key
Yeah.
switch of some sort.
Right, I mean,
Safety
anytime you
factor.
have a gate, you're gonna have to make sure that,
That's
you know,
fine.
public service can.
Yeah, and that's something
can
that all of
access.
us as a community would talk about. But I want to bring it by you guys and see if that's a possibility.
I guess
don't-
if
I
you were
don't-
interested in doing that, we would have to do some research on that. I mean, if you
I will
had
as well.
had a consensus and you could bring us, you know, other examples of places that maybe have done that, it would be, I'd be curious
I
to
know of all
know.
your reversing, yes, I know of all the communities that reversed, because nobody wanted to take charge of the snow, maintenance, things like that, which, again, we'd all talk about. I just want to kind of bring that out to everybody's attention.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
No, no.
Thank you.
Floor is still open. Okay, going once. Or,
Oh, Louis coming?
problem is you're on TV and you can't hear, so you got to speak in the mic. So you're on TV and you can say all you want there, but you're not going to be heard, and then people think I'm talking to nobody. So, if I don't, Louis?
Yes.
Louis is a member of our planning board and a recipient of the volunteer award.
I'm Louis Schatzberger, and I live at 4082 Ridgetop. And it's been quite interesting tonight to have you folks come. Because I sat on the planning board with the Highview Terrace, and the developer up there did a very good job. He came to the meetings, he listened to what the people said up there, and then he went and talked to the people, and we came to the agreement that we have.
You're
with
talking
the way-
about, you're talking about the vineyard.
The
Your
vineyard,
vineyards,
I'm sorry,
vineyards,
the
not
vineyard.
Highview.
Not Highview. I get, because the two, when they started, it was going neck and neck. Who was gonna go? First, we'd have a meeting on one, then we'd have a meeting on the other. Then we'd have a meeting, you know, so it was going neck and neck at the beginning. And I think on the vineyards, that's where the neighbors up there, when we had the meeting, all the neighbors up there, whether they bought, in the process of buying or had built up there, came to the public meeting, just as you folks did. So that, I just wanted to assure you that the process does work. And I have worked with the process with the city council. The biggest thing is, you have to come to the meetings to get your voice heard, or send something to the council so that they know that somebody has something to say out there, you know? And then, so enough on that one, so then, I'm very honored to have the volunteer, to receive the volunteer award. That's one of the things I like about Bellbrook and about where I live. I live far enough back, I can walk anytime, day or night. And the thing of it is, I like helping my neighbors. I have a snow blower, 24 inch or whatever. And once I get that thing going, I don't want to just do my driveway. I do everybody's driveway. Just because, I mean, to get the thing fired up takes a little bit, but I have a lot of fun doing it, and I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy helping the people. And that's where I get myself in trouble with my wife sometimes, because I'll end up stopping to help somebody and get things done. But I think that's one of the unique things here that we have in Bellbrook.
2197 Tampico Trail.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Thank you. So, going once, going twice, going 3 times. It's public hearing, or it's not a public hearing.
Open discussion.
Open discussion. Council have any further business to come before us this meeting?
Nothing this evening.
No, Mayor.
Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.